Perfect. Item number 3, approval of agenda. In front of you, you do have the agenda. Are there any additions, subtractions, corrections that need to be made at this time?
Move approval of the agenda.
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Lauren. Discussion. Hearing none. Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Ken. Perfect. All right, at this time, citizens forum will go ahead and take any public input other than anything that is currently on the agenda. Yes.
I am preparing for the grant application, trying to get that finalized so we can get that in by March 3rd.
Okay.
And at the same time, I'm working on making us a Tree City USA. Here are the standards that they require, and some of it just fine, but other things we need to tweak, like our ordinance. And I don't know if we have to change our name or not. For the Parks and Open Space may have to be board or something, and then specify they're in charge of trees, things like that. I think we're okay as far as $2 per capita for spending in our budget, and I put in that information in this. And then one of the things is to have an Arbor Day observance. So here's the Tree City standards. I prepared an official proclamation for Arbor Day, which is April 28th this year. It's the last Friday. That is what the state of Iowa says is the last Friday in April is Arbor Day. So if you'd like to sign that, that would be great. I have a little handout on statistics for Iowa, just on trees and stuff. And getting ready for our planting should we get our grant. I asked for April 17th, which is the earliest date we can use. I'm sorry, 21st and 22nd for planting. And rain dates, April 28th and 29th. So I have a little thing that can be copied and handed out. I did send one to the guidance counselor at school, and that should say, if we get the grant, please save these dates if you can, because in the grant, I say, we had a wonderful turnout last time, and I'm gonna try and see if we can get a few Arbor Day things. Last time I got cupcakes, I think, for the kids. And so I was gonna see if I can get a little tree thing to put in there. Something like that, and maybe some other little activity. I thought about some coloring pages that I hand out. Just take over to Collins. I don't know whether they ever use them or not, but I put them, they give them out to the teachers if they want them. And the only thing left, I had to call Ben Hershey back, who's at Country Landscape. He gave me an estimate, which is the $10,000. My proposal is that we have a few trees we put down at the park, and as I was saying to Shannon, I didn't want to, I thought maybe at first what I thought were camping spaces on the south side of Broad, but maybe we're not ready to do that yet. So I thought maybe north where the rodeo parking is, but I wanted to make sure with Shannon how that area is used. I didn't think it was going to be a big problem for disc golf, because the meeting I attended, they seemed to think, oh, the more we have to go around, the better. And I thought, okay. So I didn't worry too much about that.
How big a tree will it be?
The ones we get from the grant have to be, they're like the ones down there, they're 4 to 5 feet. Yeah. There are others we can get that are much tinier, but I haven't figured out how to protect them yet.
That's what, yeah, because otherwise I'll get run over here.
Right. Right. So I haven't figured that problem out.
Hmm?
We could flag them too.
Yeah.
Something like that.
No offense, but you got women driving trailers and they're looking over here and Teen Water Park and they'll run that over.
Men don't do that.
And then, I'll say men do too.
No, Jody, they don't.
No. And so I wanted to make the emphasis, my idea was, so we have a few trees down here, shade trees again. But, I like the cemetery to look nice, like we think it's something important. So I asked for, Juneberry, which blooms in, it's early, like first part of May or April. Smoke bush, which is the burgundy color, and it's a shrub, a tall shrub. Anyway, to put on the east side of the cemetery, I'm not going to put it in the, not propose to put it in the low part or next to Huggins's because of the possible road work that we might do there. But I thought where that mound is, where I suppose it's spoil from the graves and stuff, I thought that might be kind of pretty. And if it changes colors as the seasons, like you have the Juneberry, they're white flowers, and it's a small tree, and maybe red bud. I know they bloom early, and purple. I was trying to mix that in with, something else. So any season it might look nice. And so that was what I was aiming for this time. I thought maybe if we rotate around to the different parks, we can kind of make things look good. And if I find any more grants that, give us more opportunity, I'll do those too. This one just has certain restrictions that we have to watch out for. And I haven't prepared the maps yet. I have to prepare planting plans. So, anyway,
You
That's it.
mentioned there was a $10,000 cost. Is that a $10,000 grant, or are there local funds that need to be added to it?
same as we did in the fall.
What
It's
we did in the
reimbursable.
fall was
I hope it'll be reimbursed.
a $10,000 grant, $5,000 from the DNR, and they used $5,000 of the ratio money for the local match. And so my question is there a local match requirement, or are they going to is it going to be no cost to the city?
It should be a wash. It's $5,000 to ratio and $5,000 EAD for
Great,
Ashboro.
thank you.
Hopefully that worked out.
Perfect.
Any more questions?
Anything else, Jody?
And I believe the mayor has the authority to do a proclamation without council input, so
Yeah, we'll get that signed and I'll get that back to you.
I'm trying to get us, we have until, I think it's September 1st
Okay.
to become a tree city. And once we become a tree city, it opens more things up for us. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Awesome.
Great work,
Thank you for
Jody.
your hard work.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on Citizens Forum?
You could leave at any time.
He does not want you here.
You don't have to hang around the rest of the meeting.
But you might want to. You might want to. It might be really fun. It could be really fun.
lonely being here, huh? Yeah. Well, I'll stay and keep it.
You're gonna walk up to Mom's and put it
I
in
parked in
order,
the parking lot. I can go do this.
and have a beer or two.
Oh, yeah, right. That's me.
Take me with you.
Do they have dark beer? Maybe.
Maybe.
Departmental reports, sheriff's report. I have that. Is there anything that you guys wish to relay to the sheriff's department?
Yeah, can anybody tell more? I'm serious. Because, I just drove a half a block off of S27 and you can hear him turn the corner and head north.
I was just gonna make the same comment. I think it was last night. Maybe no, it was Saturday night into Sunday morning. From like midnight till 2 o'clock, it was just one after another, and they like just screech out of town, like they rev it up all the way out of
And I
town.
think it's on both sides, because I can hear it in my house
Yep.
too, and they just keep going. And
And I'm
it
like-
is, you're right, it's about midnight.
And I mean, I just have brand new windows. My house is airtight, and they wake me up, and I'm a block and a half off of Baldwin.
I'd like to get an update on Myers Street as well.
I haven't had time.
This is from the sheriff's report.
Yeah.
I brought it
I
back.
think that's DOT though, that has to say.
Not on Myers Street.
No, not on Myers Street. Myers Street, I brought that up a couple meetings ago where there's been substantial speeding on that gravel road. Just wanted to see if they
The
sat
sheriff
out there or seen anything as far as the complaints, and I haven't heard anything recently, but I wanted to see if they'd done anything.
I need to circle back with the city of Pleasant, because they're the ones, if you remember me talking, they're the ones that are partnering up with this company that puts speed cameras.
Yeah.
And at no cost to the city, they get a portion of the fine and the city gets a portion of the fine.
Okay.
So, it might be worth checking into to see if they can do that mobily, so we can move it from place to place to place.
Or always be good, yes.
Or if they want to put 4 in town coming from each direction, that might be a possibility as well.
even if it can't be done mobily, the question would be, can it be physically attached to one of the speed limit poles? So that we could take it off and move it to one pole.
You say midnight.
And they could sure spend some time up around the school too.
Well, they spend a lot of time at the park.
Yeah.
Yes.
What can the hell you gonna catch at the park?
At first I thought it was
At least park up on the street where if you're visible, it will slow people down.
Exactly, on the main roads.
Yes, and I've told, well, Jeff Scott comes to copy on rare occasion. I've told him, well, I'll pass it on, I don't think it's passed on, you know. And I'm sure the town pays quite a bit of money for their support. I'm not sure exactly how much it is, but it's
$57,000.
$1,000 a week.
okay. Well,
We had also, as a council, talked about getting these radar signs
Mhm.
that flash what your speed is. Did we ever find out where to get them and how much
Yeah,
they cost?
I found I don't remember, I think they were like $3 or $6 grand a piece.
And do they make a record of the time and the speed? Because if they do, it might be worth the $6,000.
what's the town move by Grimes? What's the town move by Grimes? It combined the school.
Lucky?
Huh?
Lucky?
No. It's Grimes and
Dallas Center?
Dallas Center has, when I go to Adelga Rodeo, they got one sitting there. And I always look for it, 'cause I want to check my speed. I don't think it takes pictures or nothing, but it tells you how fast you're going. You know, probably once the local people get used to it, they don't care. But out of towners and stuff, it probably is it. But I pay attention to it.
Even if it doesn't take a picture, if it records every time somebody exceeds the speed limit by a given amount and put timestamps it, then you might be able to get enough data that the sheriff can be compelled or encouraged to be there at that time.
Was you at coffee the other morning when Jeff was there?
No.
Well, Jeff said they clocked somebody going 40 miles an hour down Main Street. Good thing. I mean, why not? I know it's 30 up there, I think, 25 down here, but still 40 in residential, in a commercial area. That's way too fast. And they
Did
did
he
this,
say why not?
it wasn't him, it
Oh.
said he was, one of the guys said, I caught somebody going 40 down Main Street. Did you go get him? No.
Here's your sign, Steve. And it does have, Bluetooth data collection and recording is sold separately, so we can call for a quote, but as is $3,200.
Let's call for a quote, with the, data collection capability. Even if it adds $500, it's less than $4,000 and, it looks like it could be, if nothing else, put on a pole, and if we need to move it someplace else, move the whole pole.
It says it also includes standard banding brackets for mounting, so. Wes, do you know, are we gonna have to get approval from the DOT to put it on?
If we put it on 210, we'll have to get approval. I don't know that it would be an issue, because I know I've seen those on other state highways too. And the biggest thing that they'd be looking for is, does it have any effect on safety? And I can't see it having a positive effect probably on safety.
What about speed cameras? Do we have to have DOT approval on that, for speed cameras?
Well, if we're not putting it on 210, then we wouldn't have to have DOT approval. If we do put it on 210, yes.
Yeah, you're talking about like parking it in the right of way of 210?
Yeah, if we just stick it up on one of the poles.
Yeah. You would have any permanent or semi-permanent mounting, you'd have to have permission from DOT, and probably any, like the Polk County has their mobile speed camera units, a car they just park on the side of the road. I'm pretty sure they'd want to know information on that too, if you had something like that. But I don't anticipate it being an issue with the DOT.
We've got Main Street at 25, but state statute has business districts as 20.
The DOT has Main Street at 25.
DOT, that's that,
Yes.
because of the highway, okay, so it's not considered business.
The state code
I got a
says,
question.
Yeah.
So when the police department put the signs out last time, and he gave us a report, did he say really the average speed? I mean, he had some outliers there of about 40, 45 or so, maybe a 25. But the average speed was right around 25, 27 mile an hour.
28.
Yeah, 28.
and that was where?
When we have the data.
Well, wherever
Was
he
that
placed
downtown?
the.
No, I think it was on 210.
Here and here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember seeing it on 210 coming into town from Collins.
But none of that's 25, that's all 35.
Yeah, we did have one right here as
Did we?
well,
Okay.
at the beginning of.
He placed it on Main Street across from the hardware store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
Okay.
of times.
Yeah.
Well, and I get it, that's an average. But we have the couple handfuls that go down going 60. I mean,
Well, I like looking into what Hudson's doing. That's one way to catch the outliers. And having more data so that we know if we get an excessive number of speeding after games and people leave town, then that would be a time that we would ask the sheriff to come in and keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and I think too, I know cameras could be all that bad if that's what we find out that we need, because normally you don't get the ticket until you're a left over. So if it's 20 miles an hour, you have to be doing 41 in order to see, or not 41, 31 in order to receive your ticket. So,
I believe on that deal with Hudson, they have to do a study to see how many cars go through. And you've got two pretty good sized highways running through that town.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that company would even, I mean, they probably take the survey and see how many cars go through town, but I don't know what they would, if they think there's enough.
Yeah, I'll reach out. I'll see what they can do, and we can go from there. Anything else on the sheriff's side? Hearing none. Move on to the fire report. Number of calls 1 with 5 people, no injuries or accidents. No maintenance. Special events. Jerry Holes has become firefighter, certified in firefighter 1 and hazmat awareness and ops. So congrats to him. No future plans, nothing needed from the city. Anything for Tony on the fire side? EMS department. There were 4 calls that have Maxwell paged out. 3 of them responded to. Average certified EMS call 1 and 2. Fire persons assist 1. EMS monthly training attendance was 6. Truck check was completed. CQI completed by Story County Medical. Vehicle maintenance. Nothing at this time. City council, they want permission for Scott and Tony to research ordinances to move on combining the fire and EMS departments. Tahoe has also been sent to Carl's for the build. We'll advise when it's complete. Anything on the EMS side?
At the last meeting, we asked that both fire and EMS report their calls by jurisdiction. This has not happened yet. And so if it doesn't happen at the next meeting, then I will suggest that we not pay the fire chief and EMS chief for the first quarter of the year.
What does jurisdiction mean?
We have to report as part of the budget how many calls are in Indian Creek, how many calls are in Washington, and how many calls are in Maxwell for both EMS and fire. That information, when they give it at the end of the year, seems to take forever. And if they were to do that every month as part of their report, we would have it when we need it at the end of the year, rather than waiting 60 days past the end of the year to get the information. And if they can't or refuse to do it, then there's no reason to be paying them.
I hear where you're coming from. I do not support that idea because they are doing a lot of other things.
No,
In that.
I'll make a motion at the next meeting.
I will let them know and I will relay that. Anything else on the EMS side? Okay. Library reports. They had 157 books checked out, 30 movies, attendance 168 adults, 72 children. Movie total, there were 7 kids. STEM total were 8 kids. Current events, interview meeting held for director position. Anna Baldwin accepted letter for the director position beginning January 21st. Completed budget for fiscal year 23-24. Policy updates for petty cash and display. Taking applications and interviewing for part-time position. Friends Group raised over $1,000 in the kickoff. Upcoming events. Continuing to bring up all policies to date. Filing for grants to improve the library. Meet and greet with local author in March. Early out movies and STEM. Anything for the library and library board?
One small thing, their bridges total is blank. Surely they had some. And maybe she just doesn't know how to retrieve that. But that should be available on bridges for her just to go out and pull that number. Other than that, I'm excited that we actually have minutes and a report. So far, so good.
Anything else for the library? Public Works, streets, nothing new, parks, nothing new, water pumped 1.4 million gallons, sold about 1 million gallons. Have around 35 water meter radios left to replace, sewer pumped about 2 million gallons, and nothing new on the sewer side. Anything for Tony on the Public Works side?
There's substantial progress in the water meters, and they should be congratulated.
I agree.
Do we have, I'm sure we went over it the last couple meetings, but when do the meters have to be in? Aren't we past due on
I
that?
believe we are past due on that, so they're having to go manually get those numbers.
Well, actually, they don't even do that, they're just estimated.
Yeah, they're just
Oh, that's
estimating.
Okay.
And the last 35 are ones we don't have phone numbers. We've sent them letters. We're,
That would do it.
Is there a point that we can do water shutoffs to those until they?
Do we have to have a procedure for that, a policy and procedure?
you guys would probably have to set up something.
Do we have penalty that could be applied currently in the ordinance that could be applied for non-compliance?
I would have to look that up.
Anything else for Tony on the Public Works side?
Also, check with Gil and see if there is a potential violation of the ordinance. And so we could do a civil citation penalty if nothing particularly is available in water.
Okay.
City Clerk, working on FEMA, almost done. Cat C is the last category, clerical time, hoping to be done in February. Working through endpoint replacement, approximately 30 left. Council needs to start talking about spring cleanup, when, where, and how many dumpsters. Contacted attorney about easement to wastewater treatment plant and have attached response from Randy Caldwell.
But this here.
Says both this easement is extremely limited, both the recitation and purpose of the limitation of use paragraph limit the easement to the sole purpose of ingress and egress to the treatment plant. You must also define the farmer to be a contractor under paragraph 3, which may be a stretch. I would say this use is beyond the purpose and the rights granted under the easement, and you will need permission or an amendment to use it for this purpose. Kind of what we got.
Darn.
Anything for Dear Deb on the city clerk side? Hearing none. Wes, you're up.
Yes. Very good. Baldwin Street, jumping right in here. We are, final plans are pretty much there. We're just doing the polishing to finish those up. So as soon as we get those to the point where they can go to the DOT for final plans, we'll get you guys a copy as well, get your final comments on. We've got the permitting is still in process. There's a couple things on the checklist to get done before the final turn in the current final turn-in date for May letting is February 22nd or 21st. However, that DOT final turn-in has several requirements the DOT needs checked off on their list. One of those being the funding commitments. The CDBG is dragging their feet. to put it nicely. So we don't know if we're getting the CDBG money or not. Nobody knows. The whole program has been stalled with no award notification to anybody that applied the same time we did. I talked to Justin with Simmering Corey the other day and said, have you heard anything? He goes, I call them 2 or 3 times a week, bugging them. They're probably tired of hearing from me because we're not his only CDBG client that's looking for funding through them. At one time they were saying week of January 6th, January 9th, because now they won't even tell us the date. And they're keeping tight-lipped on what the delay even is. He has his suspicions it might be some of the complications of some of the other funding programs that they deal with, that kind of thing. But as it is, we don't know. We don't know when we're going to know. So obviously Justin is going to let us know as soon as he hears anything. But right now we're just keeping our fingers crossed that they'll get us a determination in time to make that February 21st final plan submittal to the DOT. If not, we're just looking at a month bump every time that we don't hit that final check plan date. So more than likely, and we were also, the question last time about not constructing during school, even with the May date, it looked like we were going to have to do some creative staging, which is certainly doable, but if we get bumped, we'll definitely have to look into some creative staging. We may even do like half the road and then we'll do the other half later. At any rate, that's what we're looking at right now, but we are ready to get that turned into the DOT's process as soon as we can, as soon as everything's in line. The other big item on that is getting the easements figured out. And I think, Megan, I think you had volunteered last time to help us talk to Christensen.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've been trying to work getting the documents prepared. I thought we would have that before this meeting, but we haven't got there yet. So I think Randy Caldwell, we've been working with him to get the right forms that he would recommend for the city. Hopefully that's going to be soon. I don't know if it even be this week yet or not, but we'll see. And we also have some temporary easements up on near North Street, which is that. So we were working through that hastily. Other than that, that is where we're at. It's pretty close to getting ready to go. The Rock Creek Ridge Estates, I checked with our development group, who's working with the developer on that. And at one point they had a let's go, and then they were told no, don't go. So right now we are not doing anything with them. Whether that's
We're waiting right now on, we're gonna figure out what we can do with the $119,000 sitting in the tip fund.
Gotcha.
That's what's.
I figured it's a financial thing that he's just waiting on to get his confirmation and commitments that he can proceed. So no big deal there. Before the ones that have current activity going, the water treatment plant wastewater discharge permit. I did just today sent you a scope and agreement to look at this, for us to look at the options you have to meet that new permit for the water treatment plant discharge. So obviously we can't act on it tonight, but pass that around, share that. At least I don't think it's going to. That's that one, right? Yep. So share that with council and let us know if you have any questions on that. Essentially what that will do, we need to there's 2 big options that we've identified for the water treatment plant compliance. We either have to add treatment on site before we discharge it to Rock Creek, or we have the option to avoid a permit altogether, which is a nice intangible that you don't have to deal with in compliance with the DNR, and pump it or gravity it to the existing sanitary sewer system. My gut feel says it'd probably be a pump just to where the water treatment plant sits and where our sewer system is. But we would take a look at that. So the scope that we've sent you is kind of an early preliminary engineering report to look at what options we have and what those costs might be for proceeding forward with the design to get that done.
And that's pro bono, right?
Yeah, sure.
On the record.
Pro bono with consideration of the actual costs, right? So, what we look at there is, like I said, an on-site treatment or the 2 gravity or pump options to get it to the city system. And then that report would also double as a facility plan report with the water department. It's weird because it's for the water treatment plant, but it's a wastewater permit. So I'm not exactly sure. Water supply calls them preliminary engineering reports. Wastewater side of the DNR calls them facility plans. So we'll see which one calls it what. I believe it's going to be a facility plan, but basically you can use that if you want to get SRF funding to, SRF loan to fund the project if it's big enough that you would want to. Also, their permitting requirements require some kind of engineering plan report that shows that, hey, look, we've looked at all these options, this is the best one. So the DNR has requirements for that. Plus, it's helpful to you guys, I think, that it shows you, look, we've looked at our options, we know how much that one would cost, we know how much this one would cost, we know how much that one would cost, and we can make a decision based on costs, operation and maintenance, what's going to cost to maintain a pump station, what it's going to cost if we have to build a plant, not really a plant, but some treatment facility on site, that kind of thing. So it helps give you guys good information to make your decision on how to comply with that.
The Dollar General has a force main into a inlet,
Yep.
What do you call this? Street.
Manhole.
Manhole.
Person hole, manhole.
And so when we're talking about taking it to a sewage treatment plant, are we talking about a force main into that same manhole?
More than likely. Yeah. So when Dollar General put theirs in, the city opted to let them have it be a private treatment plant or a private pump station that's just theirs.
And it's down on their facility.
It's down on their facility, right? So the city's option here would be a very similar thing, and it might even parallel their force main and get into the same manhole, but that would be essentially the same concept of what we would do.
Though, are discharges constant, or are they timed so that we could have them when discharging when Dollar General is not open?
You wouldn't be able to do it on that kind of a schedule. The discharge from the water treatment plant is a backwash schedule dependent thing. So the backwash only happens, I think, twice a week. I forget the exact specifics, but it's occasional use. I don't recall if it's an automatic thing or if it's something that Tony actually runs. Does he actually run it? So he could do it at an off time, but that would require Tony being there after hours. I don't know that you're going to have much issue with concurrent discharge with the Dollar General.
Not a volume.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue. We'll take a look at that when we look at the manhole that's going into to make sure that the sewer has capacity for it.
Okay.
It's like 90 gallons a minute, but it's not a long duration. So,
okay.
And if we pump it, we can stretch that out. So what we have the ability to do is you can match the inflow from the discharge going out, or we can build a little bit bigger wet well and just store it and pump it down slowly, because we know that it's not going to be a long-term thing. So there's some balance there that we'll look at for you.
Okay.
But yeah. So that's that. I don't know. Obviously, there's questions come up on that. We can talk about that at next month's meeting. Our compliance date isn't until 2027 on that one. So we would be constructing 2027, 2026, 2027. If we, for whatever we need to construct, so that gives us plenty of time to do design and get it underway, get financing, all that kind of thing. Rolling Hills Mobile Home Park, that came up again. It's off the radar again. We have not heard anything back from them after we sent them the updated thing. So I don't know on that one. We'll just take that one as it comes. It's not really any benefit or detriment to the city at this point. So just more or less an informational for you guys. And then a couple questions that came up last month to follow up on. One of them you guys have already addressed, talking about the access drive to the tenant farmer. Sounds like is it Gil or Randy got you an answer on that one. Having worked with the property owner when we first got that easement, it may be, this is my opinion, it may be worth going back to him and as your legal counsel suggested, revise the easement agreement. He's already given the access. It's already a gravel drive. He may not have much opposition to modifying that so that you guys can use it for a contractor or a tenant farmer. In my opinion, it might be worth asking, especially since he has adjoining ground and there might be some benefit to him. I don't know how you can see that, but just a suggestion. And then there was a question also came up on the roadway design capacity when we were talking about semi-tractors on on city streets. So I talked with some of our roadway designers, and essentially the consensus is that for an unloaded tractor without trailer, it's difficult to show increased wear and tear on the roadways. The roadway design is based on axle weight and number of trips. So when you've got a bobtail rig without a trailer, you've got 3 axles. They're heavy, but it distributes the weight on 3 axles. So the load compared to a loaded trailer is much, much less. They also look at the number of trips that truck would take. For rule of thumb that they told me is until you start getting truck traffic with trailers that exceed 200 trips per day, they generally don't, at least on like a PCC street design, they generally don't change it much from the 6 to 8 inch width. Now, we don't have PCC streets. We have some chip seal and thin asphalt. So depending on what the actual street condition is, they could increase damage over time. It's just very difficult to show that without a lot of extra engineering and cores of the roadway to analyze the snot out of it. And I'm not sure that's to your advantage at this point, but so that's the answer I got from that for you guys. Hopefully that helps, or doesn't help. I guess it's kind of a anyway. So I think it's pretty much the big stuff on our end. Any questions on anything?
And we will review what you provide as a scope of service and have it on the next month's agenda.
Yep, or at least for discussion, or if you have questions in the meantime, we're looking, I will add to that a little bit. We've included a look at a batch treatment, which would be an on-site treatment. The wastewater treatment guy that I worked with, or that's in our office that's going to be working with on this one, his gut feel is that that's not going to be cost effective. By the time you get all the infrastructure in to do an on-site treatment, he goes, you can probably pump it quite a ways. But we want to look at least on a cursory level to make sure that it, that his gut feel pans out, right? So we anticipated going to the city system.
The distance that we would have to travel with the force main would be all on city property or DOT right of way. So there's no acquisition.
There's one route that you might be a possibility, but it would require property owner cooperation, and that's through the old co-op there to get up to Maxwell and Railroad. There's a manhole there that's directly north of the water treatment plant, but you'd have to go across country and through one
You mean
property.
if we were to go over the hump?
Yes,
As opposed
or under the
to-
hump, yeah. As opposed to out and around up to Short and Main.
Even though that's a little, I think the distances are about the same.
It's shorter going to the railroad because it's about straight north, and so you save the over that you have to go up. But it's like 800 feet versus 500 feet or something like that, I forget. But more than likely, we're going to go out and around. We'll look at the other one just to see, but yeah.
I handed you a piece of paper
Mhm.
that shows the current status of funding for Baldwin.
Okay.
The estimate that we have is a $1.5 million project.
Okay.
We're looking at $550,000 in grants if we get both CDBG and SUDAS, which would mean that the rest of it, $950,000, would be local funding. And the local funding would have to be bank loans, GO bond, and cash on hand.
Yeah.
So the 2 bank loans, one of them would be out of the council's talked about. One of them would be out of road use tax on the left-hand side, Fund 110, and the other would be out of the water fund, out of Fund 600, both looking at 15-year loans and about $19,100 each. And the GO bond, if it's 15 years, would be about close, a little bit less than $43,000 for 15 years. This adding another $250,000 to the local funds, if we do not get the CDBG, I think makes the project unaccessible.
And the option you may have there, if you want to look at it, is we could pull the water from the project and just not do the water replacement. Now that would, you'd be out some.
We wouldn't get the $250,000, and the water was costing $500,000.
Well, so the water itself, if we pull the water from the project, you would probably cut the, and I'm trying to remember from memory here, the construction cost that would come out of that would probably be around somewhere around $300,000.
Okay.
So what we did is when we look at CDBG wants to see matching. So if you get 300, they want you to be spending 300 of your own. But what we were able to do is apply some of the road replacement to that matching fund. Because if you had to go dig up the road, or you had to go dig up the old water main to put a new one in, you'd have to be replacing roads as part of that project. So they count that as credit. So essentially there's about half of that, 600,000, if you will, for the water project is road work that we're already doing. We just got credit for it under the CDBG program. So if you pull out the water grant, you basically, it's almost a wash there. I'd have to get the real numbers for you, but I can't do that. So that would be an option. We just did not do the water. We just run the risk of having, just deal with the old water main that you have underneath the road.
You have to break up the road.
If you ever had to get into it again, yeah, that's the issue there. Yeah, which is why we wanted to do it now, but that is an option. It is an option.
Well, the 250 makes it the local funding very difficult. So I want you to keep that in mind.
Yep.
The other project that's right below it is the Woodland storm drainage. You had an item on that in your report. And one possibility that the council has talked about is doing the whole $265,000 project using $100,000 cash on hand that's in the franchise fund, franchise fee fund, and then a bank loan for the other $165,000 over 15 years would be $15,700, and paying that from the franchise also.
We also talked about phasing that one too, and
we talked about phasing it.
So there's
and
might be
this
something we can do there.
$265,000. When we get down to the actual engineering and everything, it may be more than that. So,
I think the other thought too was if it would be possible for when we sent Baldwin out for bid, if that contractor was interested in doing Woodlawn, would it be cheaper since they are already here?
You might see some savings. You may not see as much as you might think, because obviously it's usually when you change order anything into a project, the contractor figures, well, I've got them, so I'm not gonna. There's not a lot of incentive to give a great deal. Right. You might see some savings just because he knows, oh, I'm already there, I'll work him. But it also does extend his construction schedule. So now when he's planning out his crews, have to stay here longer. My experience is you don't see a lot of savings. Yeah, it never hurts to ask. The other thing with Woodlawn being a smaller project, the size of the contractor that's going to come in to be able to do the Baldwin is going to be a larger contractor. And if you were to bid out Woodlawn on its own, you might pull in a smaller contractor that has less overhead, you might be able to give you some savings that way. So,
We have an engineering survey for, Woodlawn.
Mhm.
We're not down to a point where we have, the, documents to go to bid.
right, yeah, yep,
So, perhaps we should be asking for a scope of work.
Okay.
To, get the, bid documents for Woodlawn. It is something that the, citizens have all asked about.
Yep.
And, if we have the, construction, drawings, then we can look for other grants or, go ahead and pull the trigger with the funding that we have.
yeah. If you guys are good for that, I'll get a scope of services pulled together. If nothing else, we could complete the design and they sit on the shelves until the conditions work that, I mean, the design isn't gonna change much, unless you wait 10 or 15 years and the stormwater data may change. And we have to revisit that because you know how the storms get bigger and worse all the time. But yeah, I'll get that pulled together for you for your consideration. Yeah.
Getting a scope of what work, does that cost the council anything?
No.
Okay.
Scope's on.
So I would, ask that, and it doesn't take council action, I don't believe, I would ask that you prepare a scope for council review.
There you go.
It's already written down. It's done.
Anything else for Wes?
Thank you, Wes.
One question on the school. You sent them a
Yes.
letter, you sent to Jameson.
Yep.
To them. Have we heard anything back?
I have not heard anything. I don't know. I mean, I didn't hear anything from the first letter either. So I think everything went to the city for what they responded
Well,
to.
I
on
watched
that,
a
so.
near miss accident with a kid run across the road. The kid should have stayed, but didn't.
Yep.
Because those trailers on the west side of the building north there completely blocked the vehicle coming south. For an accident waiting to happen. Well, we've been very nice in allowing things like that. The east side could be cleaned up with this Bobcat in 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Then we could move snow on another 3/4 of the block.
Remind me again, did we email the school, call the school and say, hey, move?
Oh,
We-
a letter was sent, a letter was emailed, the text message was sent, and all of those, I know for a fact, have been sent to the contractor, so.
And ignored.
Evidently.
Well, and the trailers we're talking about, that's kind of their job trailer out there. Do we know, are they
On the
three
west
of
side?
them on the east side or the west side?
That's west.
West.
The west side. Okay, there's
West
trailers on
side.
the east side too, between them and, or west side of the school or the stadium?
School.
West side of the school.
West side of the school, okay. All right, I know there's one on the
That's
east side of the
Maxwell.
school too.
Not anymore.
On Maxwell.
Oh, not anymore?
No, that used to be where the admin office was.
Oh, okay.
Trailer in there.
Okay,
There's
all right.
at least
We're
2
talking
pallets,
about
3 pallets and some debris and junk there that.
Are they still, is the construction still ongoing then? They still on site? I mean.
I think it is.
Yes, it is.
I think there's also some legal things that are going on right now
Yeah.
too, so.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that when you sent that message the other day, Doug. Are those trailers in city right away or are they just off city right away because of the parking that's right there? The on-street parking?
They're not in the park.
They're in the
They're in the
parking.
They're in the
spots.
parking, so
Okay,
off.
so I'm wondering where
They're
that right
in
away
the
lies.
city right away.
They're in city right away, but
Right.
in the parking area that's on-street parking, if you will.
Yes.
Correct.
Well, we have the attorney that is, or the city has sent them letters asking to move it.
Yep.
I suggest that we now turn it over to the attorney to have, all of the, items which are illegally stored in the right of way removed from the right of way. They have a parking lot, they could move it all into the parking lot. They can put them wherever they want to, but it's time to get it out of the right of way. And a letter from the attorney with penalties would be the next appropriate step.
We can do
I would
that.
agree.
I think it's kind of a catch-22 as well, because you move all that stuff into a parking lot, then you're gonna have cars parked in the same exact
Exactly.
place, same exact location.
But they're not as high as a trailer. You can see
Right.
around them.
That's true.
They're vehicles that move and, uh, not as high, like you said, so you don't have the problem with kids, losing visibility. So we've been patient, and it's time to, get the streets cleaned up because it's a public safety issue.
And the rail there where the semi dock is.
Yeah, and
Completely over still.
that's one that our recommendation on that one was that sidewalk should be closed until that's up. I don't, I'm assuming they haven't done that yet.
We said we can close that.
I was
right?
gonna say, if it's a public sidewalk, you guys can go put up a sign and close it.
I think that's what we'll do, and then we'll
Okay.
still send them a letter
Yeah.
saying, hey,
We don't want somebody getting hurt. It's gonna happen. We are.
Well, and that's, I'm not gonna play lawyer, but,
Yeah.
if the city takes due diligence to attempt to protect and say, hey, we put up signs, we told you, you need to get on there, then if something happens, you've done what you can.
Thank you.
anything else for us? Shannon, did you have something for him?
Yeah, well, you're all talking about Tracy's property. You must be taking storm drain down Tracy's.
Yes.
What's wrong with the other side of the street, my side? Not that I
Well-
want my yard tore up any more than he does, but why not, what's wrong with my side and his side?
I think we're on both sides.
You are?
So we're bringing the storm sewer down your side, but then we cross an outlet to the south across the backside of his piece, or
Will
actually
there
through
be
his
an
piece.
inlet on the north side of the street?
There's several inlets on the north side of the street. I
Be
think.
by mine when I get water and I got somewhere to dump it.
I believe so.
Okay.
I mean, what water are you dumping? Stormwater, right?
Stormwater from my basement.
Yeah.
But not, because I've heard Tracy, I've talked to Tracy, and he does not want the back half of the timber or whatever that is back there flooded, you know?
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to ditch because it's going to back up and silt in. And I don't know what you guys are planning on doing, putting a ditch or putting pipe all the way to the creek. I haven't heard, so.
Okay. Well, we need to have that conversation with him then, because what we're looking at doing is cutting a ditch out to the creek, from there at the end of, Fifth.
That's where the ditch would start.
Yeah, that's where the ditch would start. It's pretty much low already, and that's why we took that path, is because it's kind of where the water, it's potholy now, and there's it holds water and all that. So what we would do is basically grade to connect all those low areas, and so all those low areas then would.
I know the guy that lives in Peterman's old place. He bought it, but renting it out because his kids don't want to leave Ankeny until he graduates or whatever. So
Mhm.
they're renting out. I wouldn't know if he would even care because they don't live there.
Yeah.
You do it before he comes and lives there, you know.
And
it's too
where's
late.
he from you?
Huh?
Where's he from you then?
West, 2 houses
West, 2 houses. Okay, yeah, that's the one that's clear at the end of the road, right?
Yes.
Putting the pipe on the north side of the street would increase the cost of the project significantly.
Okay.
All the way out to the creek on the north side of where that.
Because I know
Yeah.
Tracy wants to go to the park. He doesn't want to go at his place. He wants to go down Baldwin all the way to the park and dump down into the park. And yeah.
Yeah,
And there's-
that's difficult.
Yeah. There's no outlet down there either.
Yeah.
So
No.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything about going on my side down there. It's always been on Tracy's side, so I just was wondering.
Yeah. Well, we're coming down Fifth, I think on your side, on the north side, and then we cross an outlet to the south side,
Where are you crossing at?
right at the end, right at the driveway that heads, the private driveway that heads back.
Right at the end of my property.
I think, yeah, you're usually the last one there that's actually on the street.
Well, no, we're all on the street.
You're the last one.
No.
Tyler's driveway, you're
Tyler's
the last before
Yeah.
You got
Tyler.
Tyler,
Peterman.
Nora, and then
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
there.
Okay, so
Also
yeah,
Nora.
somewhere around you.
Where Jameson's mom and dad used to have that long drive. That's where you're saying
Yeah,
cross
right
over
there. Yeah, right there, across there, which is basically where the old railroad grade used to be on Tracy's place, and then it drops down, and where it drops down there is kind of
Okay.
the low area that we would take it through.
Does Tracy know that?
We met with him or his wife like 2 years ago when we were looking at this,
Okay.
and we were looking at that path, I don't know if he remembers that. Lots happened since then.
Point at the map.
Yep. So we're talking about coming down here, and this is your place right here.
No,
Nope, you're the next one down. So we'd come down here.
yeah, mine's over
Yeah,
here.
yours over here. Yeah. So we'd come down here.
Oh,
we'd
clear down
cross- yeah,
there.
clear down here and cross down
That's
here.
Across from Peterman's or
Yep.
wherever owns that.
Yep. Cross here, and then this is the old
That's
railroad
Tracy's.
graze here, and that's where it drops down.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we'd be on the back side of
Oh,
that,
you're way down.
down
okay.
in the floodplain essentially.
You sure about that?
Pretty sure.
Cause right now, y'all got a line running right here. This is Tracy's driveway. Now it's a ditch all the way through here. It's not-
Yes.
There's
Yes.
a line on how big it is, but during that one rain last year, it exploded. Tracy's got 2 holes in his yard. I don't know if I'm sure he's told somebody, but
Yeah.
the line exploded. But yeah,
Yeah. So essentially, right now, all that storm sewer that's in that storm sewer that's there at Fifth today, Fifth and
Uh-huh.
Baldwin, crosses to his side of the ditch.
how
there.
big is that, you know?
Oh, not big enough,
Not
but
very big.
it all comes to his side now.
Yeah.
So what we would do is we would be picking it up at Fifth and Baldwin and keeping it in a pipe on your side of the road so that his ditch wouldn't be taking all that water.
Okay.
And so then we would outlet, so his ditch and the storm sewer would outlet there together
Now,
and be taken down.
the 2 black lines, and with yellow lines in the middle of the road, I take it?
Yes.
And that's city property, the 2 black lines.
Mhm.
See, Tracy doesn't think that, his property runs over that far, I don't think. But I knew it does, cause he's got I think these little buildings right there, and he's always said them was on his, but they're not, they're on city property. Okay. Yeah, I don't know who owns that place back to the last one now. I've never met him. They're never there.
He's on planning and zoning.
No, Tyler moved.
No, Tyler left. Tyler sold it, and somebody else bought it from Ankeny, and their kid's still in school, and they rented it out for $2,300 a month. So whoever's living there is renting it.
Eric Carlson.
You know who it is, Deb?
Eric
No.
Carlson.
Who?
Eric and Aaron Carlson.
Oh,
According
According to the web.
to-
I don't know who lives there now. But
Well, if you talk to Tracy Shannon, we're going to be coming out to meet him sometime here soon. Megan volunteered to help coordinate that with him. So
okay.
just let him know that we'll be bringing out some stuff.
I think he's more worried about it dumping in that, I guess,
In that
call
ditch.
timber there, and the flood in the back, because it's all, it's not level, it's all low back in there.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
what,
that's where we're looking to take it, but I think we can show that it won't be like we're just dumping it. We're going to create an improved
ditch back there.
ditch to get it out of there. And it's a floodplain, so it might silt in a little bit, but the city would now have storm sewer interest and a drainage easement cutting through there, so that if it needed to be cleaned out, it can be got back there and cleaned out.
Perfect. Anything else for Wes? Okay. Moving on, Parks and Open Spaces Board, in front of you, you do have those minutes. Anything for Parks and Open Spaces?
Deb, I sent you an email, I don't know, a few weeks back. Whenever you want to order trash cans, I can help you with that.
okay.
And then we can maybe get them here by spring, depending on what the current economic state tells us.
Are you keeping the
Yeah,
ones
'cause I
you got
don't-
down there?
Maybe a few. We're hopefully
They're-
gonna take a couple
I'm sure
of
they're
the
not,
nice
I'm sure they're
ones.
not empty. I guarantee you they're not empty.
Not empty. Like the trash.
Them black ones you had underneath the awning down there, you had for, farmer's market. Cause I've seen tracks over there and I know there people have been dumping
So
in them
anything
trash cans.
sanitation never came
No,
about them. Oh,
they never come by, they're still down there.
okay.
They're not bothering us or nothing, but
Nope.
it's just,
I'm talking about the trash cans in the park, like the
oh,
Big
Those
the-
concrete
big
ones.
concrete
Oh, okay.
ones.
So you take the lid off and you pull the thing out.
Anything else for Parks and Open Spaces?
No,
Hearing none, we will move on to public hearing, discussion action on resolution approving the maximum tax dollars from certain levies for the city's proposed fiscal year 23-24 budget. I will take a motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Doug,
Second.
second by Lauren. At this time, we'll take any public input for item 6A, the resolution approving the maximum tax dollars from certain levies for the city's proposed fiscal year 23-24 budget.
So we've opened the public hearing.
Oh, I need to do roll call, don't I?
Yes,
Steve,
yes,
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Okay. Ken?
Yeah.
Perfect.
and the
The public hearing is now open for resolution 23-03. Any public input at this time?
I move to close the public hearing.
We're gonna, motion made by Ken to close the public hearing,
second,
second by Steve. Any discussion? Hearing none. Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
Yep.
Steve.
yes.
All right, council.
Move approval of resolution 2023-03.
That's a motion made by Steve,
Second one.
second by Doug. Discussion. Hearing none. Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
Yeah.
Steve,
Yes,
Lauren.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-3 passed. All right. Item 7A, discussion on City Hall renovation. This has been kind of a hot topic recently. And I believe Kenny will have you come in here. So as you are all aware, we had several options on the table. And one of those was collecting bids to look at an addition on the back of City Hall. We had contacted several companies. Several companies didn't want to do it due to the age of the building and tying everything on that way. And we did get a quote for $250 a square foot, or to match the aesthetics of the current exterior of the building, $426 a square foot. Kenny is also is sending us a bid at this time.
I got, nobody really told me what they wanted, so I drew up what I thought you needed.
yes, which is always the best way to do it.
Yep. I like these numbers better already. Play down.
And, what it is, the 30 to 42 foot addition on the back. I'm gonna stay 4 feet away from the museum. We gotta have a place for the water to go from the gable. It'll be roughly 6 feet away from the fire station and attached to this building. And then to save you a little money, these windows and doors are in pretty good shape. That one can go. But moving them on out and then jamming these in. And if you want glass in them, we can put glass back in. But I'd say maybe this one have a pass through, on it. So
you kind of adding on to the library too then?
yeah, adding on, it'd be 42 foot wide, be 1,260 square feet. And then I figured this renovation, just a educated guess, is about 30,000 in here while we're doing that.
Is that something that could be possibly done in phase where that side gets done and then move
Well,
over? Not really.
better off because we got the drywall in there, better off doing it then.
And all the wiring and everything.
Everything, yes.
Which is okay. I think
Which
we
really
already,
helps hold the cost down.
I think we already have approval to go use the rear
Fire
of the
station, G was saying, yeah. Yep. And then I figured reusing this desk that my dad built back in 1990, 88, I don't know. But what we could do with this desk to match, because, well, you've been down the street.
Yeah.
And I planned on wainscoting just like that, make it an executive looking office, You want people to come in and say, wow, I want to go to Maxwell. Not what the hell's this?
Yeah.
But we could reskin this and stain it all in and make everything match and look nice. And 9-foot sidewalls out there is what I figured. So,
I know, there was discussion at one time with, or they had some concerns, the library had some concerns at one time that if we added on and made one big room in the back, since, like, for instance, right now, the library's still open, so if somebody parked in the rear, they'd be walking right through the city
Mhm.
council, chambers while the meeting's going on. Is there a way to put like a partition wall in there that can?
well, we could do a whole wall, but it'd have to be clear at the end, otherwise you're.
Cut it up.
You,
Right.
Well, I was thinking like a
Accordion.
accordion style wall.
well,
Well,
rather than that, then how about, you said you've left 6 feet between that building and this building,
mm-hmm,
which, could be a sidewalk, and we could do a door
off that end.
off
Yeah.
this
I
end,
plan on putting,
which would have a little alcove entrance
mhm,
into where they have an existing window there, and that could be turned into
Yeah.
a door.
yeah, that could be done. I was thinking about putting the air conditioning, the old air conditioning for the library and the heat pump, because I figured a new heat pump for the whole building plus the furnace on that side, but it could actually sit on this side too. It wouldn't make any difference which way we go with it.
Would it, and if you put it on this side, it could be toward the corner of the,
Oh, yeah.
new,
Well, yeah.
so that has a little bit better ventilation.
Well, it would get plenty of ventilation
Okay.
through there. Yeah. Yeah, you have plenty of ventilation.
And this is a pretty big space too. I'm thinking there may be some income that you can get off it too, because you can shut and lock this door. You'd be able to shut and lock the library door. So if somebody wanted to rent that space out for whatever reason.
Well, I didn't figure a new door. I figured it jammed open in
Okay.
here and in the library, but we could actually, that door, put another door there. No problem.
An interior door or something.
Yes, yeah. Something that we would stain in with the woodwork and make it look like it's not an exterior door there, you know.
What's your roof gonna look like?
It's well, on the back page.
All right, I didn't look. I should have waited,
the
sorry.
gable,
Okay, yeah.
and, which, once we get to this roof, I've gotta bring it on out and create a valley. So I'm gonna have some rubber roofing done and then shingles coming down on my new part to it.
So the gable would run this way?
Yeah, well, it'd be this way,
Okay,
be north and south.
the peak
The peak, yeah.
runs this
yes.
way,
The ridge would be
the
north,
ridge
east,
runs
west.
this way, and so part of the water, would be taken off that way with, gutter.
Yes,
and,
yeah, I've got
out to
5-inch
the back.
gutter and 3x4 downspouts figured for it.
And on
Both
this,
sides.
on this side, the water that runs off the existing building comes this way, and would it split half and half, or would it all go one way?
No, it would have to split because you got 2 valleys. You don't have no choice.
This roof's a flat roof, isn't it?
Yes, but once I bring my ridge right down the center, I've got to have the
Oh, you're
valley
going to
go both
extend the
ways.
ridge all the way to the
Oh,
front?
yeah, you have to.
Well, okay.
And then you have a valley each way because you got to get rid of the water. Yeah.
What's our budgeted total so far for this project?
Well, I
Is it
can
anything?
certainly answer that because I sent it out to everybody.
Thank you.
We were looking at, no more than, $400,000.
And do we have a savings of anything? I didn't bring my budget.
$40,000 was cash on hand, $360,000 would be loan, bank loan. And that would be a 20-year bank loan.
You're considerably under that.
That's why we're
Well,
smiling.
we are with what you have here, but
Yes.
then we also have interior furnishings
Right, yeah.
that would get added
Yeah.
To that. And so, but even then, I believe we're gonna be under that.
Oh,
We'll be
yes,
Well under.
definitely. Yeah.
3/4 of that amount, we hope.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We were also just kicked in the
Growing.
stomach with
Yeah.
Baldwin
Like I say,
project.
the only
but-
thing about it that I don't know is the renovation in here. I just rough guesstimate it, but the many renovations as I did, it's pretty well educated guess, you know?
Yeah.
I cleaned it up and we put a whole new ceiling in again.
Kinda
Take
like
all the
over at Bond's.
wainscoting off, slick the walls, drywall it. Yeah,
Yeah.
just like the pizza place up there. Yep.
Did you do that project?
Yeah.
It looks nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Yep, I did the building down here for Bob and Randy years ago.
Beautiful.
So if we move forward with this, when would we be looking at construction? Would it be
Well, about the
sometime after?
15th of April is when the frost charges go away. So,
Somewhere under that.
yeah, somewhere right in there. And I usually figure 120 to 150 days total for the complete project.
Old Settlers Time, you can have grand opening Old Settlers Time.
There you go.
Yep.
I'll sit and watch this.
We'll have a mass hanging of the city council. Hall.
That's already scheduled.
Yeah.
So, but if there's any questions you have about anything, I'd be glad to answer for you. That this bid from RJ, Brian Jones, kind of gives scope of what he's planning on, what he's got bid and stuff, so.
And you don't foresee any big issues coming up when attaching the building to the existing building?
No.
Okay.
No, we gotta pull all the brick off,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna cut some brick up right where my building line's gonna be and get rid of all that brick in the middle. And of course, the air conditioner has to go, the electric meter has to be moved.
Will the library be able to stay open throughout that?
Should be,
Okay.
yeah, we might get a little warm in there until we get the air hook patch up, but
Our,
But if they're starting in April,
April, May shouldn't be a big deal.
shouldn't be too bad, yeah.
as far as this 30,000 to renovate City Hall, does that include fixing those, making?
Oh, yeah, yeah, because Ryan, on a deal like this, I just figured time and material. It might be under, it might be a little over, but just figure time and material, that's the most honest way to do it. I mean, I can give you a direct bid on this, but you might not like it, because I gotta cover my own butt.
For sure.
So,
Any other questions for Kenny? All these here? We
the,
all agree on that price is a lot better than what we were quoted before, so.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what
Hey,
estimates
I got a
are.
question.
Yeah,
I didn't get to see the price, what was the price?
So all in, that with the $30,000 remodel of the existing city hall, 212,536.43.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
and this is plus or minus, because it's time and materials
inside here,
inside.
that's cut and dried out there,
Okay.
yes. Yep,
And I can certainly understand that, because when you get in here,
you don't know what you're gonna get.
we may want to upgrade the bathroom on this side.
Right,
And
yes,
so that would be
and you're definitely gonna wanna get more heat runs and some return air in here, you know?
so it's not.
And I think Zach Stiles, who I had did all the heating and cooling, and he can actually zone that new furnace. So I said, make it big enough to do this, so he could zone it to where this would be one zone.
or maybe even two zones, so that the library,
Well, the
Which
library
has
has
different-
its own furnace.
so
Yeah,
one
right on the other side of the wall. Well, that would all be the library's furnace then.
Oh, and
This
you'd
would be heated and cooled off the new.
oh, okay,
I told him to up the size of it to cover this part too,
very good.
so.
Well, we have two proposals, and, are we at a point where we want to accept, a proposal subject to funding?
We all, I
We
only
don't have
put it
action
on
item.
this as a discussion item. not an
Discussion
action.
only.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have another budget meeting, don't we, this month?
Next Monday,
No,
next Monday.
next Monday, the 13th.
Yeah, February 13th, February 24th, February 27th, if we need them. March 3rd, where the budget is going to the paper. So,
And I'll give this to you. See, this is for Vicky Cruz's house. Jerry Harmon's old place up north town. She's wanting to do basically, it's got an 8-foot deck out here now. And then the old front stoop. And, yes, here we go. This is existing, everything in green. But she's wanting to add deck just out to the 8-foot point and to the old stoop and come around and then put a porch on it. Yeah.
We'll get that to Deb and we'll,
Yeah.
sign off.
Yes,
Perfect.
because I don't know if it'll have to go through variance or not. I mean, it's got an existing deck there out 8 feet now, but the old front stoop is 4 feet. So,
Alright.
I told her to be.
Perfect. We'll get that sent in.
Yep.
We had February 11th down for a township meeting.
we already did that.
Yeah.
We covered that all? Okay.
Yeah, did that in early January. We got
That was
that done early.
Okay.
What, any other discussion? Shannon, did you want to take a look at these?
I'd like to, I thought you could put it up on that.
No,
one.
he just brought that in, so.
I'm not that sophisticated yet, Shan.
Huh? I thought, I didn't know what you had on to do with that.
I'm not a big computer guru.
I thought you just go, put it on.
But he did figure too, on this council desk out there running 2 conduits. You don't have all these cords and electrical with a few plugs
And would that be,
internet
floor,
stuff.
like floor plugs or just?
No, he will probably mount them in here, the plugs, but did have a conduit coming up for all your internet stuff too.
Well, one of, yes, and we can get into detail on that,
As we get.
as we go. You know, one time we wanted to have, I think we still own them, mics on the counter, and it didn't really work well because we had to use wireless from the mics to then get to the recording. If we have conduit, we can have an audio line put in. We can do the
He's
things
got
that need
quite
to
a
be
few
done.
receptacles out there, and he would go over with the council members, the placements, what you want. So,
Oh, I'm just,
I'll let Shannon digest this.
you say you're taking the peak clear to the front.
well, no, wherever it ends up, because this roof's sloped too. So however high my roof is, I've gotta have a level.
So this roof is not flat, it slopes?
It slopes back
Okay.
this way, yes.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say, cause there's nowhere to drain on that side, cause you're right
Right.
next to the museum.
Well, that's why I'm
But
saying
back here
4
you
foot
can.
away.
But over here,
Yeah, but the ridge will start 4 foot away.
Yeah,
And there'll be a gutter along that whole side picking up the
Of the
water
new.
from the
yeah, I
roof
didn't,
and
when you,
taking it all the way to.
I didn't know this sloped this way, I thought you said it was flat. But-
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, well, more or less, it's,
It's flat, but it drains to
Yes.
this end.
Okay,
And this will actually improve,
The parking.
the, amount, so that we don't have so much water here in this back parking area.
yeah.
and how far does the building go to the back, does it go to the museum or farther?
No, not It does not
It's
go
4
as
foot
far.
away from the museum this way and 30 foot
So
from this wall.
So
you
not
look
quite
where
to
the
the
door
museum.
is,
Not quite to the museum, okay.
if you look at the door to the
Fire station
fire station, take just a little bit on this side.
of the walk door, about where that LP gas regulator is out there.
Okay.
I don't know if they told you not, there is like an old cistern out there.
Yeah, nobody mentioned that.
Okay. That, and I don't know what, because is there a little sinkhole there now, or did we get that
No, we filled it in.
filled in? Never mind.
Yeah. Might hit it when we're digging footings.
Yeah.
Depending on what the location of it.
We found that after we talked to you, Kenny.
Oh.
You know, I like the plan, I like the dollar amount, and we will have it on for action at the next council meeting.
Telling you.
Yeah.
Go up to a council meeting, get the go through it, yeah. Thank you, Kenny.
Yep,
Thank you, Kenny.
yep. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Any other discussion on that? And I will take public input as well, if you have anything that you'd like to add,
Not
or
yet.
anybody on the phone would like to add. Hearing none, I guess we'll move on. Thanks, Kenny.
All right, you bet. Thank
So,
you.
so
Thank you.
you
Yep.
Friday.
basically said no to
See ya.
the other place?
Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just wasn't cost effective at we'd be spending at the end of 15 years more than what we'd be spending here.
And hold 400,000.
Yeah.
And- yeah, and we did-
The hour.
No, I was going to, I didn't know if there was gonna be a whole lot of people here or not. But we did put together a pros and cons list, and a needs assessment as well to go over. If you would ever like to see that, we can go over that as well. But, yeah, I just knew there was some speculation going around town and wanted to make sure.
Well, I'll say this, Jameson, that I like to see you come to coffee every now and then to clear up all the gossip that everybody hears, you know, and it clears up a lot. So I really appreciate you coming there and clearing some of this stuff up. You know, even when Jeff comes down there and drinks coffee for 5 hours or however long it's open, he never leaves. But, you know, he's got, you know, we can ask him questions about what's going on and he can answer them instead of us assuming,
Yep.
you know.
Perfect. All right, Deputy Lance, we're gonna run back up to you quick. There's a few things that the council and the community would like. There's a way that we get a little bit more presence around town. I think we're still having problems with speeders on Main Street and Meyer Street Road.
Okay, is
Um,
that after school?
And Baldwin.
and Baldwin.
Yeah.
What times are?
So Baldwin
Wait till
and
we get it fixed,
210
it'll be
going
worse.
out of town. We've noticed it at night usually. Megan says like midnight to 2 o'clock.
Saturday night, midnight
Okay.
to 2 o'clock, it sounded like they were drag racing up
Mhm.
S27.
Okay,
Yes.
And it seemed to be, I'm not trying to accuse or anything, but it does seem that it's on the weekends, it's
Yep.
after bar close.
okay.
Or, you know, towards the end of bar close.
Following up on what Shannon said, it's probably women drivers.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you know.
Okay, what about it, like
If
Main
we're a
Street?
little bit smarter, we'd probably be taking our
That kind of
time.
stuff?
Yeah.
Probably
drawing
before or
attention
after
to
school.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Leaving
Yeah,
the
and the trees are obviously, we got
We
little
see
kids
through
coming
that.
in.
The helliwoods.
Well,
Yeah, some of them are. Some of them aren't.
And then Meyer Street, that's that,
way out.
yeah, way out.
There, yeah.
I think the speed limit is at 35 or 25
Back.
on Myers.
I think it's
35.
35.
You think they actually go north and south, people speed on that road, on the gravel?
North
Yeah.
and south on the gravel.
And I would say probably about 55,
They
60.
assume that it's 55 just because it's a gravel road and that's
Mhm.
what, 55.
Is there posted signs out there on that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
There is, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually on the gravel, north and
And
south.
there could have been, what I discussed this a couple months ago or maybe a month ago. Maybe there has been more of a presence out there. I just didn't know if there was or if we found anything
Well,
out.
depends. What probably happens is you can't see is if someone logs town time, there's around the area. But I guess I can send an email and have it logged as like extra patrol in those areas. You can actually see if we're sitting in those spots.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's more
If
of
people
a,
do it or not, I mean, I can't tell people to do it, but I
right,
can try to
right.
They could,
At least
they
you
could
question.
hide right there on the trail.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Kind of
Just
back
not
in.
on the trail, blocking the trail.
What time are people speeding out there? Is that after school too?
It's
Or?
after school,
After school.
it's spring, summertime right now, I don't know that it's an issue because
Okay.
there's so much slushiness and ice and
Yeah.
whatnot, but I know summertime is pretty bad.
Okay.
And you still got kids in that area, especially with the walking trail, I think that's,
Mhm.
the residents out there, I think that's.
That's probably the only reason it's a
It is.
35, not a
I think it's
55.
Is
Right.
that what it is? You think just kids that live out there?
No,
and
it's
just
actually,
mess
that's
around?
all the frontage.
Yeah, because you've got all those hills, those fun hills on there on the
Okay.
south side of that. I'm sure that's what it is, but who knows?
I can send an email about that. Like I said, I can try to see if they'll, in our system, like I said, we can log extra patrol and it pops up as a call when you get that report. So you can actually count it. If they do it, most people just put the town time on there and drive around, so.
What do you have for us? Anything?
No, it's winter now. It's like I said, it's kind of slowing down.
Yeah.
We've been slower than usual, so about usual for this time of year though.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I think
All
that's
right,
we have.
yep. I'll, like I said, I'll send an email for this and see if we can get some extra patrol in those times.
Perfect.
Thanks,
All right.
thanks.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you. Get that to Deb. That goes in my zip file. Okay. 7, I think that's supposed to be 7B. Discussion and action on offer of city bridge funding. So the DOT has come out and said if we do get the grant to replace and rehabilitate the bridge over the Rock Creek overflow, which is on the trail.
No,
No.
no, this is the one up by Ken's house, out by Plunkett and Ken, Gary Plunkett.
No, this one's the one by Flickinger's over in here.
Oh, Short Street,
No.
or South Street, I mean,
South
by
Street.
Peter's.
South Street.
Yeah,
Right by
it's a
mine.
two-
Water treatment.
Yeah,
There's
it's
two
right by
bridges
our
there.
property.
There's two bridges right there, just east of Flickinger's and west of the old sewage treatment plant.
And so you're saying
How many
it's,
people remember that it used to be a sewage treatment?
it's not that?
He's right around on the.
No, it's not that one, that's the one I wanted. No,
Go,
So
go
South
up a little,
Street.
take the map up. No, move the map up.
Elevate.
No,
Other
you're
way.
moving it
Go
down.
Other way.
south.
Move the map up.
Your other left.
Okay, now, see where Rock Creek crosses South Street?
yeah, it's
There
right
are
there.
two bridges right there. You have a little tiny, you have a bridge, the main bridge across Rock Creek, and then to the east of that is a separate bridge.
They're
I
both on
remember
our-
us talking about this
they're
now.
our property. We
Huh?
don't care. We want the trail one done.
Anyway, what this is saying is that if we get the grant to pay for a portion of this, the Iowa DOT will pay for the rest of it, so we don't have to.
No, we've already been accepted for the grant,
Perfect.
if we want to go forward with it.
Yeah, we just have to say.
We just have to say yes, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yet today.
And
Yeah, because we missed it.
No, we got.
Well, they
we
extended
got-
it.
We got an extension.
Yeah,
Right.
they found, so what, how much does the city need to come up with?
The city will come up with nothing. The county's going to pay for the
County's
rest
not
of
covered
it.
because we have grant funding.
Okay,
Well, I definitely move we accept it.
I second that.
That's a motion made by Doug, second by Steve, discussion.
That
Yeah, are we
goes,
gonna put a tunnel underneath Macomb Street so I can get out?
yeah, that's.
what?
We'll have to-
Yeah, how's Ken gonna get out?
How's Ken gonna,
When is this?
Oh,
gonna
you mean
happen?
during construction? Well,
Yeah,
well, no problem, Ken. You just drive south and around the block and back out on 210.
Yeah, go down by
Okay.
Myers.
I'll start charging mileage.
Exactly.
leave your vehicle on the west side,
Watch
walk,
my speed on Myers.
Nothing's ever
Well,
free. Somebody
your-
pays
your
something.
Yeah, watch your speed on mine.
Your options are that we do nothing and have the bridge fall in because it's unsafe, or we fix it and you're inconvenienced for a short period of time.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
Yeah,
Steve,
Yes.
Megan, or Lauren,
Yes.
Megan.
Yeah.
And Debbie, you gotta send them something yet tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Item 7C, discussion and action on windstream permit request. So this is a permit request for S27 or Baldwin Street. I think I can pull that up.
I did send this to my engineer and he,
You can discuss it if you'd like, but I'll add in, this is for the Baldwin Street project. This is a relocation that we asked them to make to accommodate the Baldwin Street project.
Super great, okay.
Well, I'm not gonna scroll down because it's gonna take forever.
So the approval will allow them to do the project when we do the project? Or is this something that they would do ahead of time?
They'll do it ahead of time. We want them out of the way by the time we get in there so that their stuff.
No more
isn't
delay
conflict
than
with our stuff.
And if we end up not doing the project for another year, then this is done.
Yeah. Or, but, I mean, yes, well, Spencer is obviously in coordination with them because I called Spencer about this one and said, hey, what do you know about this? He goes, oh yeah, we asked him to do it. So Spencer's in coordination with them. If the project gets delayed, he will let them know and we might grant them more time to get it done, but yeah.
So is there a motion for approval on that one?
Yes.
So moved.
Moved by Doug, second by Steve, discussion. Hearing none, Ken? Steve,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken?
yeah,
All right. Item 7D, discussion and action on law enforcement services contract for fiscal year 24. Good news, bad news. Good news is it went down by, what, $3,000 from last year. Bad news is because the population shrank in the latest census.
61 people, yeah.
We lost 61 people,
Mm-hmm.
so we're back in the 800s then.
859.
This town ain't grown for 100 years. It's always been in 800s.
Or 920.
Sure, yeah.
I move that the mayor is authorized to enter, to sign the contract on behalf of the city.
Motion made by Steve,
Second?
second by Lauren, discussion. Hearing none, Steve,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug.
Yep.
Ken.
yeah,
Item 7E, discussion action on easement acquisition for Baldwin Street reconstruction project.
That was a placeholder in case we had anything. We don't have anything to discuss or to approve at this time, so.
Okay, I'll take a motion to table this item.
So moved.
Moved by Steve,
Second?
second by Lauren, discussion. Hearing none, Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Ken,
yeah,
Steve.
Yes.
7F, discussion and action on budget planning for fiscal years 23 and 24.
I didn't know if you guys had anything or if that was just something.
Thanks, Shannon.
Yep, see you guys.
See you, bud.
Thank you.
I tried to
We got a new
get everything that we talked about organized a little bit better on our capital projects. And earlier in the day, I think I sent out a separate email that had all the changes that we talked about in the line items themselves. And so, did anybody see where I missed anything in the line items? So, the capital improvement projects that we identified, there were 6 of them. And the Baldwin Avenue, we've already, well, the format of this shows a project, and on the left-hand side, if there's debt financing, how much we would have to include from an annual budget perspective in order to pay the loan that we're getting. And on the right-hand side is the project cost, how much of it's from grant, how much is from local funds, and then some detail, what grant money and what local funds. Because if you're doing a project, a $1.5 million project, you're going to spend $1.5 million. So where are we going to get $1.5 million?
Doug's pocket.
Yeah, because
Move that decimal a long ways around.
he lives up there in Rock Creek, and all the rich people live up
Yeah.
there.
The-
Right,
the-
you know,
There's
that's
somebody
all
else
low.
over there.
The stuffy area.
That's definitely area. Those two.
There's Mary Beth.
So
Same place. I think you guys should divide it in half and call it good.
the legislature is doing things in the city financing this year. There are bills that have been submitted which may make it so that we no longer get the sales tax money, so that we will not have local option sales tax available to us in the future. There are other bills that would restrict how much our income would be by limiting the amount of money that's collected on taxes. And so there's a lot of things going on, and if we're looking at financing things over 15 years, this may be the year to do it and get the financing in place, because in the past, the legislature has held harmless things in place, or it may be, they may not, and it may be a big risk, and we can't make our payments. We can default like the federal government, so life is good.
Print some more money, right?
That's great.
You got a nice printer up there.
The grant on the Baldwin Avenue, or well, one of the things that the legislature said is that if you're going to do a debt project, that you pay 10% of it out of local funds, that you can only finance 90%. So if we're doing a $1.5 million project, and local funds that we need are almost a little bit short of $1 million, I assumed that we'd have to use $100,000 cash on hand. And we do have $100,000 set aside in the Baldwin Project Fund, because we've been setting aside $50,000 a year for the last few years.
I got a question on that, and maybe this is a question for Deb. We still have ARPA funding, right? About $135,000, which originally was going to go to the Rock Creek development area. But I believe it can also be used for streets and construction work. So if we need to use that, I would tap into it, because I think we have to use it by a certain date in 2023 or
I think it can
2024.
also be used for the city hall expansion,
Possible.
No, I don't think so.
because they did allow some public building expansion. It'd be worth looking into.
Okay.
Yeah,
'cause I
but
think-
definitely roads
Yeah.
would be permitted, or even storm sewers.
Yeah, along.
Yep.
So there are some avenues that we can.
And I did not touch any of that. I looked at other funds. The cash on hand I'm looking at is out of the Baldwin project, Fund 301. Then GO bond, a little bit short of $500,000, and 2 bank loans, one out of the road use tax and the other out of the water. And maybe we want to look at a different funding source other than the water for the 200,000, because that would affect rates. Then maybe that's when we look at the ARP funding or someplace else. The next project is the River Lawn storm drainage, and we'll get the detailed plans, but based upon what we have so far at $265,000, we could use $100,000 from the cash that's in the franchise fee account, which means we only have to finance $165,000, which is $15,700. We get about $22,000 a year, and so we would still have some money left over in that each year, so that seems doable. 100 dead trees. I think $100,000 on the project, $10,000 cash on hand from local option sales tax, $90,000 bank loan. All of that would be out of local option sales tax, which would be $11,300 a year for 15 years. No, for 10 years. And that's a public safety issue, getting rid of those trees. So I think that should be a high priority. Build and furnish an addition to City Hall. We had estimated it would be $400,000, $40,000 cash on hand. We have that in this year's budget. $360,000 bank loan would be $29,300 a year for 20 years, which certainly is doable. And it would be out of local option sales tax. The last 2 projects, owner occupied housing repairs, $17,000, and it's a grant for $17,000. And the last one I have wrong, 26 trees in the city park. I show a $5,000 DNR grant and $5,000 cash on hand. Instead of that, it would be not DNR, it would be Emerald Ash Borer. EAB grant. So both of those would be grants.
And then the other 5,000 was the ratio, right?
Well, yeah, that's the DNR grant is the duration grant.
Duration.
Summary at the bottom of the page is by fund. So if we do all this, how is it going to affect the budget every year? Well, local option sales tax, we've been getting $90,000. This would commit $40,000 to payment of these projects over the next 10 years, and a little bit less than that because some of them are 15 and some of them are 20. Road use tax, it would tie up $19,100. Franchise fee, 15,700 out of the 22,000. GO bond, that'd be 42,000. The water, I have $19,100 out of water, but if we reallocate that Baldwin project so that it does not use water, then some of that would be paid in cash, and that would go away. So yes, it's $137,000 annually for the next 15 years or less, 10 years or less. But the way that city funds work, it is doable with the funding sources we currently have.
Plus, you're looking at $137,400 a year for 6, what I would consider major projects.
Yes.
Is the SUDAS grant, Wes, is that also quote unquote at risk, or is it just the
No,
CDBG?
No, and actually, I meant to correct it on that one. It's not SUDAS, it's STBG is what it is. STBG, Surface Transportation Block Grant. And those numbers, I apologize, those numbers should be flipped too. The STBG is like 240,000 and the CDBG is the 300. I saw that earlier.
That doesn't make me feel any better.
I know, right? The potential loss is the larger one, yeah.
So now I'm $10,000 short.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know that I worry about it too much because we don't have bids in for what the project costs either.
If you were being honest with us, should we be concerned that we're not going to get that funding?
I don't know. I asked Justin his thoughts on it. He's like, we just don't know.
That's weird. Is it weird?
No, they've done this before.
Okay, well that's
more so recently. More so recently, yeah.
Could this all be tied up with the federal allocation and the debt ceiling issue?
I don't know if it's tied to the debt ceiling, but and I forget what it's called. There's some funding. Some of this comes from federal funds. Some of it comes from state funds, and there's some shifting and reorganizing of things like that. I don't know if it's fully on the state or the federal level, but there's things like that in the works. And my conversation with Justin with Simmering Corey is he thinks that's what it's tied to, just because they've got some additional sources of funds that now they've got to work into everything. And his thought, if I understood him correctly, was that they're kind of holding up the whole thing to figure out a little piece of it. He feels like they already know who they're going to award to. They just haven't let it go because they haven't got the little details worked out. So, yeah, they've done this more so here lately. I think last year they had a time where they didn't announce awards right away. But yeah, we just don't know because they're very tight-lipped about it right now.
The 6 projects that we have, are they doable in a year?
The 6 that you have being the Baldwin, the Woodlawn. What were the other 4 that you're talking about?
Removing the dead trees, building an addition onto the city hall, which may not affect you directly. Owner-occupied house repair, 26 trees in the park.
Yeah.
A lot of the ones that affect engineering are, of course, the River Lawn and Baldwin.
Yes. So Woodlawn for sure, I think would be, if we get started early enough. Obviously with what we had to do left on that one, that's probably a 2024 construction season is what I would think. By the time it's all said and done, ready to go.
On Woodlawn.
On Woodlawn, yeah. If we could expedite the design and get it ready to go, but the problem is then you're running.
When you say 2024, you mean spring of
right.
2024?
Yeah.
So the project
year from now,
could still get started.
Yes.
Whether or not it gets all paid by the end of it, by June 30th is an issue.
Yeah. So I work in construction season. So when we look at projects, we look at construction starting in spring and ending in the fall, right? So when you say can it get done in a year, that's the time frame I'm looking at. So the later you get started in that, construction season, now you gotta work on, all right, are we gonna get done in time for the snow to fly, or is it gonna drift into the next season? Which they often do, and it's not a big deal, we take care of it, it gets done when it gets done. You just have to plan for that in your contract language for completion dates, making sure that you've provided enough time, so that you don't rule out bidders or drive your prices up with.
Same scenario for Baldwin.
Same scenario for
What
Baldwin.
timing are we looking at?
So, right now, I would say we would definitely want to extend the completion date for Baldwin into 2024. If for no other reason than clean up and punch list items. I mean, you can see how the high school project is a bad example of how things can drag out, but they do. You're getting grass to grow and you're late in the season, you're trying to get paving down, then you're past your seeding window, so the seeding's gonna come in the spring, it makes sense.
Would it be smart to wait the whole project for another year? I know that's a terrible question.
Not necessarily. So one thing we look at too, when we look at bidding projects, your best prices you'll get when you bid in a climate that the contractors are hungry, right? They don't have their schedules filled up. They're looking for work. They're looking to fill their crews and their equipment. And so that generally comes in the fall, winter bid period. And they're looking forward to the next year, what they're going to work on. So if we bid a mid-year project and try and get it done in that same year, you're going to see high prices because they've already got their schedule filled most likely, or most contractors will. What you'll do is the only contractors you'll get to bid are the ones that aren't full, which are the ones that are expensive to begin with, which is why they didn't have a full schedule.
Yeah.
So if we're bidding in the mid-season, if at all possible, I like to recommend allowing them to go into the next season just to make sure that we get competitive prices and the best price that we can get. Now we have to look at obligations of our funding and making sure that the funding obligations will accommodate that. Usually they will. Some funding obligations, I don't know about the STVG, if it has to be spent within a certain year or if it just has to be allocated within that year, right? So once you've got a project bid and you've signed the agreement with the contractor, that money is now allocated, right? It's committed and promised to that project. Most funding sources, they don't care so much when it actually gets paid out as long as it's allocated that time. That's not always the case, so we'd have to take a look at that on STVG. I don't know what that is. I've got a note actually here now. That's the conversation here to ask Spencer on that, make sure. CDBG is an allocated type funding. Once it's allocated, you've got it, you spend it when the project needs it, so.
Since we're getting $10,000 less in grant, and means our local funding needs to increase by $10,000. I would say that $10,000 would probably come out of the cash on hand in Fund 301. I think we have that amount of money between this year and our next year budget that we'd be able to absorb that other 10,000.
And keeping in mind that that's a budget estimate too. We're keeping our fingers crossed that maybe we get better prices than that, but we don't know. So you could also accommodate that 10,000 by just lowering the estimate to 1.49 million if you wanted. But
well, we applauded a while ago when our sheriff's fee went down, but that works against us in other places. At one point, Deb, I got some numbers from Deb, the road use tax was $131.50 per person, and it was going to reduce to $125.50, which is a 5% drop. But then you couple that on the fact that we're losing 6.6% of our population, that's really an 11% drop when you really figure dollar for dollar.
And local option sales tax is the same way.
Same way.
Capital.
So I'm scared of committing $134,000 for the next 10, 12, 15, whatever it figures out. That's more than our local option sales tax has been running. So that bothers me. Really worries.
134, what are you talking about?
The $137,400 that we're going to be committing to paying every year is more than
what?
What now?
Out of what?
Out of all these sources.
Yes, all these sources, not out of local option sales tax.
But it's more than that amount, just to give us perspective.
It's
It's more than the amount of our local option sales tax. I'm not saying it's all coming out of that.
That's true, but fund accounting, you have to look at each fund individually and not in an aggregate.
I understand that.
Okay,
I'm just talking total dollars. Whenever I see $1,000 we're spending, to me, it means we just knocked on every household door in the city, 350, and said, hey, we're gonna spend $3 of your money right now. So 10,000 is $30, 100,000 is $300. So
but
and I know the sources are different. I understand that.
some of these you're not asking people to pay because this money is either going to sit in the bank and not be used, and we're not going to get a project done, and we're going to continue to have flooding, or we're going to continue to have a road that everybody has to go 10 miles an hour on, as opposed to having a improvement to the community that may attract people.
I understand that. Yeah.
So I just object to the characterization that the $137,000 is a total and it's coming out of people's pockets. None of this. The only part that comes out of people's pockets is the GO bond.
Understood.
Anything else under 7F?
Or should we be including these projects in next year's budget, showing them as expenditures and revenues, or are we going to drop some of them off and not have them in the budget, or are we going to do like we've done in the past and not have them in the budget and do them as budget amendments next year? And the concern I have about that is that the council is going to submit, and the mayor is not going to be around next budget season. Two of the council people and the mayor. And so if we don't include it in the budget, then we may be causing problems for a future council.
My opinion would be to include it because you can always take
Not
it out.
spend it.
Yeah.
Right.
The budget is an allocation process. It's not a spending process. It is setting aside money or allocating the potential spending of money, and the actual spending is a separate action.
Is that
Will all 6 of them get included?
I would say yes.
Well, 2 of them are grants.
Yeah.
And we still have the budget for those. So.
Right, understood. But they would not be dollar factors.
Well, they wash.
Yeah, it's a wash.
And the other thing, when you're looking at the city hall renovation, we're obviously budgeting way more than if we.
What I planned on revising that.
Okay.
He had a 212. But even if we allow 15% as change orders, that's still significantly less than what we had in there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the way
We allocate things.
we allocate things unless we want to use something other than local option sales tax. We have some funds that, like you said, maybe ARP could be used, maybe it can't be.
My thought process behind that is we have to spend it somehow.
Yes.
And we can't, either that or it goes back to the state. And we can't just sit here and hope for a developer to come in and build so we can give them that money. So that's my thought process right now, especially if that we can't use that TIF for that district, that area, then my assumption is gonna be that whoever's thinking about building right now isn't gonna wanna build because it's not enough money.
Well, for the purposes of our budget, should I show, instead of a $200,000 bank loan, $135,000 out of ARP?
To Baldwin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means the bank loan would be 265,000.
I think that feels a little better. We're using our own money rather than. And I'll also try to remember to call the realtor tomorrow and let her know that that's the route that we're heading at this point, unfortunately.
Well, we haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been going back and forth with not hearing anything, hearing something, not hearing anything, and then all this TIF.
What was Kenny's proposal?
Kenny's proposal.
200.
212.
213?
212, 536, around there.
Okay, so 213, and if we add 15%, that would be another
Another 40.
30. Pardon?
Around 40.
Okay, just say 40.
255.
How about 37? Because that makes it $250,000 budget. And I'll redo the loan. 20-year loan sound reasonable for a addition. I mean, if you're doing major house construction, reconstruction, it would be a 15 to a 20-year loan.
I would say probably be closer to 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Instead of 20.
So look for 15.
15.
Okay. I'll have those recalculated and then incorporated into the budget documents on a line item basis so that we can look at it. The other budget item Deb, the 2020 wind disaster, is that all done now?
No, he still has some.
Okay, so
There's
we're
one more section.
$33,000 in the hole, and that may go down a little bit.
Yeah,
And that's off of the employee pay. Is that what she's working on now?
I think so.
Okay. Once we get done, I think we will still have a negative amount. And I think what we should do is do a resolution that moves money from our emergency trust into that. That's what it's for. And so right now we have $36,400 in the emergency trust. So which is more than the $33,000 we're currently in the hole. So whenever we get down there, we can zero it out using the emergency trust.
Anything else? Hearing none, council mayor report. Steve,
None.
Lauren,
None.
Megan,
None.
Doug,
Ditto.
Ken.
Ken just messaged us his phone fell through. He's got nothing.
For me, I see Joel's here. Is there something that you want to hit on before we adjourn the meeting?
I was just gonna let you know, if you hadn't heard, the Tahoe is in getting all the stuff on. I stopped by again today and talked to them. We had to make a couple of changes on things, but everything's going pretty good. I've got pictures if anybody wants to look at them.
Other than that,
What did we decide on the graphics on it?
I do have pictures of what the graphics will look like. I went ahead and proceeded with the order today. We're looking at about $600 for the graphics.
And it's going to be painted on? Or?
It'll be vinyl graphics, reflective.
So
$600. I think we budgeted like
we
two or
budgeted
3,000. So I think
so I had two quotes. One of the quotes came in at $1,200, and the other one came in at just under $600. So I chose to go with the $600. I hope that's
You're a smart man.
I hope that's acceptable.
Yeah, I don't know if we like that. The other thing that I have, we will be posting the assistant public works director. Our assistant gave his 2 weeks. Was that Monday? No, today's Monday. That was last week.
Last Friday.
Last Friday, and I think we have some folks that are interested as well. So. Can be okay over there, Jim?
I thought, does she need the Heimlich?
Yeah.
No, she's sneezing.
Sneezing.
So that'll be coming out here
I'm just really sad that he's leaving.
So that'll be coming out here shortly. So if you see that, don't be shocked.
Did he share his future endeavors?
Yes.
He's going to a trucking company.
Okay.
And did he
State Center.
indicate why he's leaving other than getting a better job?
I don't think so.
Better job, more money.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Will we do an exit interview with him? Will you do that?
I can. Yeah.
Yeah, just get some thoughts.
Yeah.
I think part of it has to do with the testing side of things.
Did he pass his?
No.
No.
He passed one test.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And I think as far as pay goes, if you were to pass the other stuff, we would have been higher in pay at that point.
Okay.
Plus being local, not having to drive to work could be a cost factor.
Yep. So that's where we're at on that. Congratulations to our 2 girls that went to state wrestling.
Yes.
So I want to recognize them. Other than that, I think that is it. Trying to think here if there's anything else. I do still strongly encourage the community if they have any questions or anything regarding to city council. Again, we stream these on YouTube. Otherwise, come and stop in. Our regular meeting times are at 6 p.m. on the first Mondays of the month, and then we have budget meetings that are typically towards the end of the year, beginning of the year. But we want to make sure that six.
Monday?
6.
Monday.
Yep.
6.
Yep. And unfortunately, today we just had a error on our posting when it came to the maximum tax levy, and so that's why we met at 5 instead of 6. So
I like it.
other than that, that is all I have. We can move on to consent agenda.
I would like to pull January 4th separate from the book.
Okay.
Just get a clarification.
January 4th from the book.
And looking at the minutes, it looks like all of us except for Ken were at all the meetings. So, and since he's not on the vote, we should be able to do, B through E, with, all current members voting.
So I will take a motion to approve items 9B through E.
So moved.
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Megan. Discussion. Hearing none.
There's no discussion on consent agenda.
Perfect. Steve,
Yes.
Okay.
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take a motion on 9A, approval of January 4th, 2023, and then we'll get into discussion after that.
So moved.
Moved by Lauren,
Second.
second by Megan. Discussion. Doug.
Okay, my question is about the third sentence there on the long paragraph.
Yeah.
Salaries were discussed for the coming fiscal year. Cost of living will be 8% and merit will be. Are we assuming that they will be set at that rate? Or I don't know that that was our intent. I would say maybe a maximum of 8% and a maximum of 2%. But when I read that, just
I like that a maximum of
that would be my recommendation to edit to say a maximum of.
8%. Merit will be a maximum of 2%. Good catch.
So now I gotta figure out how we do this.
We do that by, me seconding the,
Motion to amend.
the, amendment to the, motion.
Okay, so that was a motion made by Doug to amend the wording from, the cost of living will be a maximum of 8% and merit will be a maximum of
So you're adding a maximum of in two places.
And that was the second by Steve. Any discussion with that? Hearing none. Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Lauren.
Yes.
and now the
Now
motion
motion.
as amended.
I'll move.
Moved by Doug for motion as amended,
Second.
second by Megan. No discussion from the Megan,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Lauren.
Yes.
and you didn't need to do a motion again. Normally you would
Yeah,
do, we have the amended motion voted on, and then you would just say, and now the vote on the amended motion, and you don't have to
So then you don't have to go
Bob's rules, man,
through
tell
make a
roll call
motion.
again.
Well, yeah, you do.
You do.
Yeah.
I'm second.
We have one item left on the
Motion to
agenda.
adjourn.
That's a motion made by Megan,
Second.
second
Some
by
of those two would get in.
Lauren. Is there a discussion involved in?
Sure, let's.
No,
We're leaving.
there is no discussion on the
Debatable.
motion to adjourn.
Oh.
Okay, then we'll go to roll call. Doug,
Yes.
Steve,
No,
Lauren,
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Get that down.
I can't vote for a motion to adjourn when Lauren doesn't make it. I'm sorry.
I like it. I like it.
Some things have to be.
All right, Debbie can shut that off.
You're too slow.
Nugget.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, Joel, I
Thank
want
you.
to see these graphics.